Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money.
Hey, hello. Good morning and good afternoon from wherever you are tuning in from. Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I am your host, Shalay Camillo, and today we are going to get into a very interesting conversation, okay? So Real Housewives star Portia Williams just stirred up some controversy. She said that successful women attract jealous men. Okay. And that comment sent social media crazy into a frenzy, right? Some people said she's absolutely right. Some people said it's not that simple. So today we want to open the floor and really explore it. So chat, y'all, I want y'all to come on with us on this ride. I really would love to know everybody's perception on this. Can a woman's success shift the energy in her relationship? That's a really great question. And if it does, what does that mean for her peace, her progress, and her pockets? Ooh, y'all. Okay. So I have the most beautiful, amazing queens with me today. And I'm so happy to have my girls here, Dr. Alicia and Aisha Verzi. And we are going to get into this conversation. All right. So you know what? Let's go ahead and take a look at what Portia said. We have a video.
If a woman has a certain power or has a certain goddess energy, there are some men that get with us and they want to tear us down. So we honestly all have to be careful. All of us women who are upward, we have businesses, we have things, we have to be careful because even though you would think, oh, men are just falling at our feet, they actually get with us and then hate on us. They get with us and want to conquer us, want to tear us down. So we have to be very vigilant. We have to pray for a certain level of discernment when we date, because when men come around, you have to be able to feel his spirit and not what he's saying. Because, baby, they will run your ass through a tornado and you won't know what happened.
Okay. So, ladies, I would really love to know your reaction to this video and what you think about what Portia just said. Alicia, I'll start with you.
I'm curious about how she came to that conclusion. I'm always curious about the interactions between two people who are in a relationship with each other. Like maybe someone can come to you and say, hey, I'd like for us to spend more time together, or hey, we had a dinner date the other day and you didn't show up for the dinner date. What happened with that dinner date? And someone's just like, well, I had business to do and I had work to do. Don't be trying to tear me down with this relationship. And you're like, no, wait, I just want us to, I'd like for you to show up when you say you're going to show up and not use this as an excuse. So always in relationships, I'm always curious about the interaction between two people, the conclusions that she drew from that reaction, what really happened. And sometimes in relationships, we project. So, sometimes the things that we're uncomfortable with, we project it onto our partners. And so as a couples therapist, I just see in the detangle a lot of that and slow the conversation down, because when we saw her talk, she spoke about her conclusions. But again, we never heard the examples, how she drew that conclusion and what really happened. So before I get in here and I join her bandwagon and be like, men are insecure, they can't handle a woman. Well, I don't know. I mean, how do I know? I don't see that in my life. I don't see that in a lot of other people's life. That's her experience. So I think it would be really nice for her to give like an illustration or an example of that so that we can know exactly what happened.
So knowing what I know about Portia. I haven't watched the show. She's on Real Housewives of Atlanta. I haven't watched the show in a long time. But from when I did watch it and then just hearing in the news about her more recent relationships, she's talking about her experience. She's definitely talking about her experience or how she's perceiving her experience with the men that she's been involved with. And I think, two things can be true. It can be true that that was really her experience. And then it can also be true in someone else's experience that, right? Like maybe they're overreacting because of a previous experience. I don't know. Aisha, what do you think?
Yeah, very interesting. Looking at that small clip, it's hard to really make an assessment because it depends. I have to see a window through what she's talking about, because if you try to treat your husband like your employee, when you speak to him, of course you're going to get pushback. Like, come on. It doesn't matter if you're a boss, babe, whatever the hell you want to call yourself. If you treat your husband like an employee, that's what you're going to get. It's as simple as that. We have to separate the two. So I think that's not talking. I cannot make a decision until I see like a fly on the wall, watching what's happening at home. Then I can be more honest with my assessment.
Okay, that's very true. Let me ask you a question for both of you. Have either one of you ever experienced, and I know that you're both married, and Aisha, how long have you been married?
22 years.
Okay, so you've been married a long time. And Alicia, how long have you been married to Boyce? And then what about your
5 years? I think it's been 5 years.
5 years, okay. And then how long were you single before Boyce?
Maybe 2 years, 2 or 3 years.
Oh, okay. So okay.
4 years.
So you guys are going to have an interesting perspective because you probably haven't been single for a long time, right? Like in the dating scene, I mean.
Yeah, I dated. Bring it on. Let me tell you what's going on. Yeah, I was.
So in those 2 years when you were single, when you dated, did you ever experience, and you're a very successful woman, did you ever experience the men that you were either coming in contact with or dating, having a kind of reaction to you being successful, or did you have the opposite experience?
You know what? I dated him when I was in college. I dated a man who did not have a college degree, and it wasn't in the moment that we realized that dynamic may have been happening, but it was later on, and we were kind of reflecting, and I was like, "What happened?" And he was just like, "You know what? I think I was just I was kind of like, I didn't feel like I was good enough because I didn't have a college degree." And he talked about how that was a dynamic between the two of us, and I didn't realize it, and I don't think he realized it in the moment. But it wasn't until later on that you kind of reflect back on it and you're like, that could have been, it could have been there. But, relationships are dynamic and there's a whole lot of other things happening in relationships. Yes. But it is always a possibility that maybe that was an issue that happened. But you just never know how these things show up. And the unconscious is just really a powerful thing. You never know. Yeah.
It's so true what you just said about a whole bunch of other things happening, especially when you're in there's so many things that happen in a romantic relationship that don't happen in other types of relationships that make it really nuanced and sometimes a little challenging to pinpoint what the real issue is, unless it's like glaring, right? So Aisha, you've been married for 22 years. Congratulations. Have you ever experienced anything with your husband as far as him maybe being intimidated by you or jealous? And what do you think about that?
Yeah, loaded question, right? I think sometimes I will say yes, that we may have that brief dynamic, but because of my upbringing, I try to make sure I course correct very quickly, because I've always been a leader. I've always led. I've always led in big establishment. While my husband is an engineer, he works behind the scene. He's not like okay, do this, do that kind of a person. He's more quiet in the background. But the thing about what I'm grateful for is he's comfortable in his space. But I have to be vigilant in the way I approach him. That's why I say it's not your employee, because sometimes I have to catch myself not speaking to him as if I'm giving him orders, because I've always been a leader in my space. Yes. So that dynamic and nuances, I have to catch myself because I wasn't raised that way. my husband is my husband. He's the head of the household, and I
Mhm.
should tone my voice, not like you tone your voice to be lost, but to
Mhm.
respect and
Yes.
in honor to your husband. That's the challenge that
Mm.
I've had, because being a leader for such a long time, and him just being working in the background as an engineer, as a software
Mhm.
engineer and leader, but not outside like me. So that's kind of unique.
You just brought up a very interesting point, right? That sometimes the dynamics between a man and a woman, a husband and a wife, girlfriend and boyfriend, or just like in that romantic dynamic, one person sometimes may have a natural ability to be a leader. So the way that they come across, right, may be different from someone who is more subdued in that way. And sometimes it may not be because I'm speaking for myself too. I've always been a leader also. And so I've been in situations where people will, even my sisters, oh, you were bossy. And I was like, no, I wasn't. To me, I wasn't bossy. I was just trying to get things done because
Right.
things needed to be done. And I just were doing things. I have definitely, me personally, in my relationships, I've only had 3 boyfriends, and like long term, I've been in long term relationships. And I would say my first boyfriend, we were young, we got together at like 18, 19, we were together for like 5 years. And I did feel that insecurity. And he would try to make me jealous and do certain things. So
Mhm.
I get that men can have that, I think people can just have that, right? Try to throw you off your square because they're feeling insecure.
Mhm.
With my last relationship with my children's father, I have experienced times where, although he's been very supportive on some things,
Mhm.
other jealousy things have come up
Mhm.
to where I know what it is when I see it, when I can recognize it, right? And it had to be questioned, like, why did you say that? Or why did you do that? And a lot of times when there is an issue like that with dynamic, and Alicia, maybe you can help me on this. Does it go back to what that person is actually feeling about themselves and they're projecting it onto you? So we get into this thing with, oh, successful women and broke Black men, and we don't want to get into that conversation, but that's kind of like the sound bites out there right now. But I think that on a larger scale, it just goes back to what an individual feels about themselves. What do you think about that, Alicia?
Yeah, I mean, in my practice, I do see a lot of Black couples, and a lot of the Black women are extremely supportive of their partners. They want their partners to succeed. They'll give them money to make sure their business thrives. They will
Yes.
really be their cheerleader in a lot of ways. And I think the problem is that I think men in general, and Black men specifically, need to re-examine what it means to be a man, because I think we're giving so many messages saying that manhood equals how much you can provide.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that now is the time where men need to start having a conversation, because women, we've always been doing it, with the women's movements and stuff. We've always had conversations about where we are and where we stand. But I think Black men really need to talk about, what does it mean? Like, is it an attack on my manhood?
Right.
If both of us provide equally, and if it does, where does that come from? When Black women are achieving, and they are, you can have the stats, right?
Yes.
Black women are achieving and they're becoming successful. Can it accidentally trigger some old wounds about feeling like you're not enough? Is there shame? Do you fear that your partner will go out there and replace you? And without the tools to be able to figure out what's happening, this inner threat that's showing up, it could be defensiveness, it could be criticism or withdrawal, things that happen in the communication and interaction with each other. You're not quite aware of it. So I think it's about time for men to have a conversation. They need to challenge these stereotypes that men are only useful when they can provide in this sort of way. And no, I think men can be useful in a bunch of different ways. And now it's time to have that conversation.
Okay. And with that, we're just going to go to commercial. We'll be back.
It's a good show right here. but I'm biased. If you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. My name is Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I'm the proud producer of this show because it is lit. If you want to receive notifications for when we go live Monday through Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All you have to do is text the word Queens to 87948. That's Queens to 87948. That's QUEENS to 87948. Also, if you want to grow your money and not blow your money, all you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, there's courses, there's free giveaways. There's just no reason to be broke in 2025. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. Obviously, you don't want to be entertained here. You want to know enough to grow. Wait, I need to put that on a shirt. You got to know to grow. Got to know to grow. So now,
here are 5 signs that the man that you're with is probably jealous of you and most likely hates you. Number 1, he's never going to compliment you. He's going to say things, and these are subtle, so watch out. He's going to say things like, oh, you know you look good. Oh, you hear that all the time. Oh, you don't need me to tell you. If you ask, oh, what do you think about this outfit? He's going, yeah, it looks good. Ladies, you should never have to ask. The man needs to be, as soon as he sees you, he needs to be foaming at the mouth. He's always going to try to downplay your achievements. And sometimes it's not even something snarky, like he has to say something negative, even though you just gave a positive report. It could be subtle things like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Oh, that's what's up. Yeah, I'm happy for you. It's not actually real excitement. He's saying the words, but the actions don't match. And if you're not careful, he'll say things like, oh, well, you know, you do that kind of stuff all the time, so be careful of that one, because it'll cause you to feel like, you know, you're small, or like, even though you're good at what you're doing, that getting better at what you're doing is not an accomplishment. It is. He's not going to help you with your success, but he's going to feel entitled to it when you start to get accolades in public. Like if you get publicly recognized, oh, of course, he's going to sit there and act all like he is your biggest fan, but behind closed doors, he was your biggest op. He know how hard he made it on you when you were trying to accomplish that thing, but he's going to try to take credit for helping you with it. He's going to sabotage your progress. Whenever you say, hey, I'm going to cut this out because I'm trying to do better, like let's say you're trying to cut out alcohol because you're trying to focus, and that's when he decides to bring you a nice bottle of wine, or, you know, you say, hey, I'm trying to diet. Now he wants to take you out to eat. So whenever you're trying to do something good for yourself or something that's going to help you in your personal development journey, he's always going to find a way to kind of like go against you instead of helping you with that. And lastly, he's always going to try to humble you. And he'll say things like, hey, just make sure you don't get a big head when you do this. Hey, make sure you're cool. Don't get too big. Don't start thinking you better than people. You know, don't get all flashy with that. You want to be careful. You know, people watching you. Not everybody's happy for you. He's basically telling you to be careful of him. All right, y'all. I hope this helps. Be careful, because a man that is...
That is pretty crazy.
She just said a mouthful, and really what it's giving is jealous friend. Like if you've ever had a friend who, you know, I had this friend one time, and like I was doing well. I was like in a theater music production. I had just bought a house. Like I was doing my bricklayer thing. I was doing well. I was coming out of my kind of like a depressive state after my mom died. And it got to the point where at first she's like cheering me on, and then it got to the point, oh, you're doing your little commercials, you're in your little, you know, theater production, you're doing your little this and your little that. It was little in front of everything. It's giving jealous friend. And I've definitely I have experienced that. It's funny, when we were talking before the show, I was like, oh, have I experienced a jealous man? In the big scheme of things, I wasn't really thinking about it like that. Thinking about little micro aggressions and things like that, yes, things are popping into my mind. I want to know from you guys in the chat, have you ever experienced, for the women, have you ever experienced a boyfriend or a man who you were dating, or a husband who gave you a little jealous friend energy. And for the men too, have you ever experienced this from a woman? And why do you think that is? Because I feel like that's a different dynamic when you're experiencing it from a woman. That's my opinion. But before we went to commercial, Alicia said something that is profound to me. And I think that it frames this whole situation. Like, we can just end the conversation there, but we're not gonna. I think that what you said about men needing to re-examine what it means to be a man in this day and then this age with women of this day and age, I feel like that was a mic drop, because I think that that is the bigger part of the problem. What I have observed just in my life and the lives of, the women who are around me and those men that they are with or adjacent to, is that because we've kind of taken out the need for the financial, because not saying that all women are financially secure, but because we don't have that we need someone to provide because we have the ability to go out and work. I feel like men are scrambling, like, okay, what do we do? How are we valuable if we're not providing? And I think they're missing the whole point. The whole point is you're valuable as a human being because of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of men, from what I've seen, and I know there are great men out there, but I believe that a lot of men have not started to really do that work to have their worth, or to see their worth as inherent within themselves and not need an external factor that's placed on them to say, oh, I have this, or I have this woman, or I have these women, and now I'm valuable. What do you think about that, Aisha?
As she was speaking, I was thinking about, at the end of the day, it's the foundation that causes everything else. Is a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of men that are raised by women, that women where there's no father in the home. So how can you model what you've never seen or what you've never experienced long term? Or even when you experienced it, it was broken. It was maybe a short time and nothing, right? How can you be able to do that? You can't. It's actually unfair to expect somebody that has not had that model to them. How do they know how to do it? And then now they're adults, they have to search for that themselves. And I think perhaps if they maybe had mentors, maybe when they were younger, to instill what does a man look like? How does a man behave? How does he treat a wife? How does he, all those examples that it doesn't just happen one time. Like being in a family, you can't get all your answers at once. It's the quantity of time and also the quality of time that you receive, the advice, those things, count to become who you become later on. You can't just reverse it and say all of a sudden now I'm this grown man, but I don't know how to be a man, but I'm going to learn it. You can learn it, but it's harder because now then you feel insecure because you didn't have that building block. There's no building block for you to be how to be a man, so that you can be the provider, the protector. So then if you have a woman that is doing that because she's providing, she's a boss lady, then you get lost in the shuffle. That's when the problem has to happen more and more, because now that feeling even comes even stronger. That's how I'm thinking. Go back to the beginning. That's how it began.
And I agree. I agree, and I get that perspective. What concerns me with that is that everyone is not going to have that example all the time. So that, okay, so we're talking about modeling, right? So I had my mom, who I think is great, but she definitely had flaws. And for me, it's made me very self-aware to like, okay, this is where my mom shined, and this is where, she was fallible. Mm-hmm. So maybe where she was fallible, I didn't have that modeling, but it made me want to be like, I want to do better in that area. Mm-hmm. Not, oh, I didn't have that modeling, so that's why I don't know how to do that. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think that that's specific to the person, because I think that different people have different personalities and abilities and capacity. Absolutely. So maybe, Alicia, maybe you can speak to that. Like, how much of this do you think is modeling, which I believe it's a lot of it. How much of it is modeling? How much is it personal responsibility?
Yeah, I don't think it's either of those. I really do think that it is a person's ability or a man's ability to self-reflect. The
Mhm.
self-reflective functioning is so important. So I will have a guy come to me and he'll say, "Hey, I'm reflecting on my childhood. I did not have my dad there for me like I wanted him to be. He was not around. And because he was not around, I'm going to make sure that I am there for my children because
Yes.
he is able to self reflect. The self reflective functioning, it's much more important than having a mentor. It's
Mhm.
you are not bound by your background. Just
Yes.
because you did not have whatever you felt like you needed to have as a child does not mean that your current life and your future is destined for failure. If you
Mhm.
can sit and you can reflect and you can think about how it made you feel and you can make the conscious decision to do something different, you will. And that is the reason why Black men have currently and has always been way more involved in their children's lives than any other race of people. These are facts. And I think it's
Mhm.
because of this self reflective functioning, and we need to stop tearing men down. I just hear so many conversations and so many words online, not based on anything factual, just saying these things about Black men and you didn't have a mentor, so you're destined for failure. No.
Right.
Can you reflect on that? Can you make the conscious decision to do something different? I used
Mhm.
to work in family court. I used to take a lot of cases in family court in our county that I live in Illinois. And there was so many misconceptions there
Mhm.
because the men would think because I don't have enough money, I don't deserve to come around my children.
Mhm.
That's what they would think. They would think, "Oh, I'm not going to pick up my kids and have them over to my house for the weekend because I can't afford to take them to McDonald's, or I can't afford to buy them things. I can't afford
Mhm.
to give them material things that they feel like their children really want. Their children don't want that. Their children want their time and their energy. That's free. That doesn't cost
Mhm.
anything. But it's
Yes.
this misconception that a lot of men had in family court. And a lot of women do this too. They're like, if you didn't pay child support, you don't get to see your children. That's abusive. Would women need to say, okay, you haven't paid child support, but you know what? We're going to put the children first, and you're still going to be able to see your children.
Mhm.
And that's what I had to deal with for quite a while, for quite a
Wow.
while, to try to let everybody know that visitation is separate from the from
Yes.
child support.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. He doesn't have to pay his way to see his own biological children.
Mhm.
So, these were the things. I'm not in family court anymore, but these were the things that we had to sort through in order to
Yes.
make sure that the best interest of the children's needs, they don't care about the material things, believe it or not. They just know that they miss their fathers and they wanted their fathers around. And this is the reason why, of course, masculinity can't solely be connected to how much money you make. That's not fair.
Right. I agree. I agree. Thank you so much for those insights, Dr. Alicia. It was like I I've never heard that a man thought that he couldn't be around his kids because he doesn't have money. That's very interesting. That's very that's deep. We're gonna go to commercial. We're gonna come right back and we'll keep this going.
I know you're busy, you got things to do, and you can't take us on the go with you every single day. Good news for you. We are now on Spotify. So if you can't watch us, now you can listen to us on Spotify. Search Fly Nubian Money and all the episodes shall appear. All you have to do is like, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, leave some comments, tell people how you love us so that when other people come along and are looking for a great show to watch, they can find Fly Nubian Money too. One last thing, and just in case you've been sitting under a rock, Fly Nubian Money now has an investment club. We are the Fly Nubian Money Club. It's easy. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com, and I am committed to bringing in top experts from all industries to help you level up. They're teaching us the skills that we need to compete in this market. we often say that nobody is coming to save us, not the government, but guess what? We're coming to save us. I'm coming to save you with the Fly Nubian Money Club. So listen, all you have to do again is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com. We have a 30-day free trial set up just for you, just for those people that are struggling. Even if you ain't struggling, you ain't got to struggle. I'm coming. Okay, let me stop playing. I'll see you soon.
All right, y'all, welcome back. If you're just tuning in, we are talking about a comment that came from Portia Williams of the Real Housewives, where she said that successful women attract jealous men. And that is what we are talking about today. So before we went to commercial, Dr. Alicia was giving us some real deep insights on basically, I guess, Dr. Alicia, you were talking about capacity, right? And choice, and how your capacity as a person, as a man, as a woman, a lot of that has to do with the choice that you decide to make, making a conscious choice to have more capacity, right? Or to explore that and be able to reflect and say, okay, here's some shortcomings. Let me do better. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. At PhD Melanin said, I think when folks say raised in a house without a man, they leave out some key words, not just a man in the house, men who are in the home who conduct themselves properly and are leaders. That's very true. So getting back to this is a really deep discussion. And I think that we're kind of getting to the bottom of it, right? Which is, I love that when we're not just talking about something esoterically, and we can just like really get to the bottom of like what the issue is or what it might be and how do we solve this issue, right? We're talking about men who, may be jealous or intimidated by a woman and may be competing with her. Aisha, how do you think that a man, you can tell if a man is inspired by you or if he's intimidated by you? Because sometimes those can look identical until there's a pattern, right? So how can you tell that? And Alicia, I'm going to throw that to you too. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, great question. I think I'm just going to say something based on what Dr. Alicia said before, which ties into my response to what you just asked me, is, again, the ability to self-reflect, right? Self-reflect and then get help. But how many people are willing to do that? That's the question. How many people are willing to take the responsibility to self-reflect and get the help that they need so they can show up their best self, right? Because it doesn't happen in a vacuum. Somebody has to guide you and help you. So that self-reflection allows you now to get that help that you need or deserve so you can show up as your best self, right? So when it comes to now, how do you know somebody's jealous? I think you're right. They're one of the same. And, but I'm grateful that I haven't experienced that, where somebody, maybe the person because I just tend to choose a man that is a man, meaning a leader. I tend to do that, where I don't have to compete with him. I can rely on him as a partner, because that is what I was modeled, and that's what I want. I want a man that I will submit to his leadership, right? And then the person also, while we're dating, knows that, okay, Aisha is this kind of a person, and they're also comfortable in themselves because they are leaders in their own space to deal with my kind of personality, right? So those things, and then they can compliment me, or say whatever it is. There's no conflict because, oh, she's this way, because they saw me that way already, and we discussed it, that this is how I am, but they are comfortable being the provider and the head of the household. But I'm also a leader in my own respect, but I submit to their leadership regardless. That's why I have to watch my tone of voice, because they're not my employee or my business partner. They're my spouse. That's a different level of, of discussion of how you handle them. So I have to remind myself to know that. So, but I think they're going to be the same. It just depends on the situation and how the person complimented you. Are they jealous of you, or are they being supportive of you, right? So it just depends.
Alicia, what do you think? How does a woman know when a man is inspired by her, in her power, as well as being in her femininity, right? Or whether he is intimidated by that?
You're not going to know what's happening in your partner's inside. Like, you can't, in a relationship, you can't read another person's mind. You don't know what that person is thinking. And I think that that's different from friendships, but an interpersonal, a romantic relationship that you are in with another person, and there may be signs of jealousy coming up. Instead of drawing the conclusion, oh, that person's jealous, why not have a conversation with them? Hey, I noticed that you made a joke about my success. Did you realize that you made a joke about my success, or it came across as if you were joking? Check in with the other person. It sounded like you made a backhanded compliment, and before I draw the conclusion that you're jealous of me, let's have a conversation about it. I don't want to draw that conclusion. I think that the mindfulness piece and the ability to self-reflect interactions that you have with another person before you just dismiss it, throw it off. Oh, they jealous with me. So many times in relationships, we have an interaction with somebody and then we'll walk away from that and we don't own up to our little part in that interaction. And we just point the finger at another person and come to the conclusion, I'm going to read into this person's behavior and I'm going to conclude that they're jealous of me. Check in with your partner first before you do that. And guess what? Jealousy is a healthy, normal emotion, just like anything else.
Yeah.
It might be an uncomfortable emotion, but it's what makes us human. Maybe if you have a nice, soft conversation with each other, you'll come to the conclusion that, okay, I have goals in my life that I want to accomplish. You have goals in your life that you want to accomplish. Let's work on these things together. Let's have a conversation together about what our future is going to look like if I am successful, if I do blow up, if all of these things happen. Because feelings of jealousy is normal. I can say to somebody, hey, I'm jealous. I want you to talk to me the way you talk to that other person. I mean, I feel jealous about that. Go ahead and talk about that openly. And it has to go from a place of self-reflection, mindfulness, to have a conversation. I noticed you were on the phone with that person for 2 hours. I'd like to have a 2-hour conversation with you. That makes me feel jealous. Why not say that and openly be, what am I saying is to be vulnerable with each other. You still can do that with your significant other. You can be vulnerable and talk about the things that might hurt you and what you want to see. I want you to pay as much attention to me as you pay to everybody else. It's okay.
Alicia, yes, I'm so glad you said that, because when you were speaking, I was just going to say that it's normal. It's normal to have feelings of jealousy and jealousy comes in different varieties, right? You can be jealous if you're in a romantic relationship that your partner is getting too much attention from the opposite sex, or from, you could be jealous that maybe their dreams and their goals are happening faster than your dreams and your goals. And that's what I was about to say. Here's the thing. Having the conversation, right, is important. And it's important for that person who is feeling that, because that's normal. Like, I'm trying to get this thing off and everything is happening for you. I can see how that can make you feel jealous. I think where it goes left is that jealousy turns into spite, turns into maybe sabotaging behaviors and things like that. I've experienced some of that, right? And it would have been different if the person came to me and was like, you know what? Yeah, I get that I'm acting in this way, and I'm doing this because I'm feeling a little less than right now because you're moving, and I feel like maybe you're leaving me behind or whatever. Conversation is so important. I'm so glad that you brought that up, and we definitely don't do enough of that. Just in having this conversation, we're just very quick to say that person's jealous or they're acting funny, which two things can be true. But what are we really doing to rectify it? But also it takes two people to do that. That other person has to be in a space where they're willing to be honest about their behavior and what they're feeling and come to you and say, all right, let's have this conversation. I think that that's workable. That's totally 100% workable. So thank you so much for that. Let's see in the comments. There was one comment. Okay. The Real Black Lexicon said, I've developed zero tolerance for jealousy, not mediated. Not mediated. What does that mean? Meaning not having someone else, meaning you're not willing to mediate it, or not, you would want someone else to come in and be a mediator. That's interesting. Okay, well, let me see. If we're talking about a man, because we're talking about Portia's comments, right? If we're talking about a man who is insecure, right? How can a man become secure when his woman starts winning and he's seeing that? And I'm talking about a man who, not a man who is an opportunist. We're not talking about that type of situation. We're talking about a man who actually loves that woman and is actually struggling with, I'm just not feeling it right now. And I'm feeling down on myself. And this is happening with her. How can he become secure? What do you guys think? And then I have another question, because I do want to ask why women attract what we attract. So Aisha, what do you think about that? How do you think a man can become secure?
I guess by self-reflecting and seeing where he needs to grow. Because when we become adult, there are some things that we can't pass on to somebody else. We have to do the hard work, right? So he probably, like Dr. Alicia says, self-reflect and maybe find other men that he admires and speak with them so they can help him, give him tips on how to, handle such situation. We cannot do anything by ourselves. We need our community to help us. There's some blind sides we have that we don't see, but others, like, they will help us. But we have to be open. Again, you self-reflect and you're willing to take responsibility and allow people that you respect and admire to also tell you how they've done stuff in the past. Nobody's perfect. No, none of us. I have my blind side. I have to remind myself of this blind side with my husband, with people. But you have to be willing to self-reflect, whether it's a man, and then find people that you admire, that you can ask them, hey, you know what? I see you do this great. I really like the way you do that. How can I be like that? What are some of the things you do? And be willing to make those, tough changes so that you can accomplish those goals, so that you can be that man that you want to be, and not feel like, oh, you don't have that confidence in yourself, because you can build it up. It's just a matter of taking responsibility of that. But I have to laugh at what Anonymous was saying about maybe I'm there cooking. I thought I was funny. I said, you're right. I'm a housewife and a mother first before anything else. So it's probably, and most of the time I'm literally cooking and checking when I'm cooking. So I thought
I'm literally cooking.
I was laughing. So I'm so sorry, because he was on point. I know. Just a side note there, but yeah, but that's okay. You know what? Self-reflect and find someone that you admire, a man that you admire, and let him talk to you and give you tips on what he's doing.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so we're gonna go. We have another video. We're gonna check out this video, and then Alicia, I'm gonna come to you.
Women with pretty privilege make men jealous. Oh, they're gonna hate me for this one. It's a lot of men out here that look at women who have pretty privilege and just feel like life is too easy for them. And that's where the jealousy comes in. If a woman wants to get on a yacht in Miami, all she has to do is be pretty. And some rich guy is gonna invite her on a yacht. If a man wants to get on a yacht in Miami, he gotta go pay for it. So these experiences that men be feeling like pretty women don't have to work for breeds jealousy. I gotta stop that. Now, this is not all men, because there's some real ones out here that know. Life is what it is. We take the double standards and we play our role. But it's a lot of, I don't know what to call them, that be feeling some type of way.
That's a different perspective. Pretty privilege, and men being jealous of women because they can acquire things because they're pretty. Okay, Alicia.
Pretty
I get what he's saying, but the men part, men being jealous of women because they have the pretty privilege. That's a different.
Well, data tells us that pretty privilege is a thing.
Yes.
I had not known that pretty privilege is a thing. And again, that just says there are these, whatever these standards are of beauty. And if you measure up to those standards of beauty, you tend to get the privilege. People tend to look for you. People tend to give you things. Right. And if you don't adhere to these prescribed standards of beauty, then you don't get these things. And we know that it's true with getting a job, with how much money you make, all of these things. The pretty privilege, unfortunately, the pretty privilege issue is a problem. And that's interesting that men, that he is coming from this perspective where men are jealous because they didn't get on the boat. Like, I don't know, understand what it is about being on a boat that's like makes you so much better. And again, when we were talking about, can an insecure man come to terms with all of this and have a healthy relationship? He absolutely can. Can a man whose spouse is succeeding or their star is rising, can he come to terms with all of this? I think it's wonderful in a relationship because both you and your partner can be winning at the same time in many different ways. And I think that a man can, and any of us can, become more secure when you are willing to be mindful of your behavior, of your thoughts, of your feelings, and address some of these issues of shame, some of these beliefs about masculinity. I can't emphasize that enough. Maybe there's a trauma history there, developmental trauma, and some fears about money and about power over somebody. Some people see power relationships in terms of power only. Well, what does that tell you about your childhood? Did you see, was everything about, power and control when you were growing up? So again, if some of these developmental issues are coming up with trauma, then mentorship is important, but also therapy is important. Having a conversation when you can be honest and you can talk about some scary moments that happened to you when you were growing up that made you feel as if you were not worthy, that I'm only worthy when I can perform a certain way. And if I have an external loss, then that means there's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. Somebody lied to you and made you believe that you were inferior, and you're not. You're capable of anything. So that is really how you're going to have a successful relationship with anybody. Because when you come together, part of coming together to get married to somebody, you have to share your goals with each other. You have your personal goals that you have with that person about, here's what I want to do. And the relationship needs to support your individual goals. The relationship itself needs to support the family goals. So you have to make sure that these things are aligned and have explicit conversations with your partner about it before you get married.
Yes. Amen to all of that. And I think in this conversation, we're getting to, I hope a lot of people catch this on the replay. I hope a lot of men catch this on the replay, because I think that at the bare bones, bottom line of it, it is coming to terms with trauma, reflecting, and coming to terms with your own self-worth that is separate and apart from any external validation. And I think that if men and women, but we're talking about men, if men can do that in this day and age, they're going to be much more secure, and they're going to show up so much more secure in relationships with women who more often than not are doing this work and having these conversations. We're having these conversations at higher rates than men are having these conversations. So I think that if they, come on, y'all, send this to somebody, watch the replay. I'm going to this comment had me cackling in my brain. Sean Castor said, men with high estrogen feel like that. About the pretty privilege. He said, men with high estrogen feel like that. That's hilarious. Okay. Okay, so we have some stats. Let's go to some stats. Studies show that relationships where the woman earns more are 33% more likely to experience conflict related to ego, insecurity, and resentment. Personally, I can say that is a truth. It's not true for everyone, but I've experienced that. Research shows 1 in 5 women report a partner who has tried to limit, control, or diminish their career opportunities. Surveys indicate 45% of men feel uncomfortable if their partner earns significantly more than them, with Black men reporting a slightly higher percentage due to cultural expectations, which is back to what you were saying, Dr. Alicia. Women with unsupportive partners are more likely to turn down promotions, travel opportunities, or high visibility projects. I can see how that would be. Psychology studies show jealousy in relationships is linked to increased anxiety, decreased life satisfaction, and chronic stress symptoms, especially for high achieving women. I can see how that could be true also. So, okay, last question, and maybe we'll do this as our final thought. Why do you ladies believe that women are attracting these type of men if they're having these experiences? Aisha, we'll start with you.
Wow, I don't know. I because I haven't experienced something like that. So, but I can understand why that is, but I have not really had that close in any of my experience where a woman is so successful that the husband is behind the scenes and struggling, meaning having a hard time with her success. I haven't had that. I've seen the man is a successful person, the woman is also successful equally, but he's always above. He owns a business, but she's also doing well, where there's no competition between them. And uh, personally, for me, I also try to find situation like that because I know that naturally there's going to be conflict between people if
Mhm.
that ever happens, where somebody earns more than, if a woman especially earns more than the man, right? So maybe I've read about it, but in my own personal life, I haven't had that exposure yet. In the business that I'm in is more male dominated, so there's always the men that are always there, and then the women are always supportive, always playing a supportive role to the man. That's been my experience, even me personally in my life as well. But that doesn't stop me from wanting to be successful or go for my goals. Like Dr. Alicia was saying that in your family you have your family goal, your personal goals individually, and then you support each other in those goals. However successful you become, that's fine, because we have a family goal and an individual goal that we all pursue, equally, and then we discuss it. And there's no balance. Sometimes there's going to be an imbalance where one person is more highlighted than the other, but we understand that already as a family, and we figure out how to make it work. It's not going to be smooth sailing all the time, but
Mhm.
because we're a family that has unity as our goal, we always try to be on that page. We always try to do that. And for me, my faith really guides everything I do, because I understand that um, how else can you do anything that will make you feel fulfilled, no anxiety, not too much anxiety, stress, or imbalance? So maybe my faith guides me a lot. If I feel like I'm going way one way, I try to course
Mhm.
correct, so that we have harmony in the family and peace. That doesn't mean I don't make mistakes here and there, but understanding that when I self-reflect, like again, then I can get back on track rather than hammering on what I want, only what I want. Then nobody wins at the end. There's always going to be that, okay, there's an imbalance. And I want peace. I say, do you want to be loved, or do you want to be, you have to ask that yourself over and over, that question. And I want to be loved and appreciated and taken care of, not antagonistic because I want to get my way. I don't want to do that. That's just me. So but my final thought is this: I just believe that we shouldn't dim our lights because of our relationship, but it's all about communication. Who we are as a family, and then our goals individually, and helping each other get to that space. But also trying to know that our families are not our employees. They're not. They're not going to be our business partner where we can boss them around, right? We have to
Mhm.
be mindful of that. And then our posture, our tone, and also empathize with them. Because sometimes we don't realize that we're doing something until it's brought to our attention. So we can
Mhm.
self reflect and make sure that we bring harmony to our family, not dissension and separation, right? That's how my thought. And then you can find me at the Black Business School, and also Aisha.com, AishaVersi.com. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Aisha. So, Dr. Alicia, the question was, why do you think women, or do you think women attract these type of jealous men?
Okay, very quickly, my final thoughts about that. Okay, let's just indulge. Okay, so you have a woman and she's starting to realize that she's attracting men who are in a way not as achieving as much as she is. And I kind of wonder if like really high achieving women, I wonder if they develop this ability of caretaking, if they feel like that they have to solve the problems of everyone around them. And so maybe they just attract a person where they're like, oh, this person got some problems. I'm going to try to help solve their problem. I'm going to take them on as a project. So maybe they're just satisfying their own need to mother and to take care of somebody. And unstable or maybe underdeveloped men who aren't consciously drawn to that energy, may kind of say, okay, I'm going to get with her because she's going to help fix me. I'm going to help her out. She's going to help me out in this way. So I think that it says within the particular person, if you find that to be a pattern in your own life, maybe there's some healing that needs to be done for her. Maybe that's the reason why she keeps choosing partners that she can rescue instead of partners that she can build with together. So maybe that's part of it psychologically. That's something to contemplate for all of us to sit here and to contemplate. Hey, 3 things I want to say as we close out. I would like for everybody, I have products, healing products, available for anybody. You can go to healingwithdralicia.com and you have all my healing products. I'm so excited that I have developed that for this holiday season. If you're interested in working with me, you can contact me at coachingwithdralicia.com. And lastly, I am going to have a live event this Thursday in Chicago. If you're interested in that, follow me at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. Go to my Instagram page. All the information is on there. And goodbye, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Alicia. And I got Dr. Alicia's notebook here that I'm always writing in. Okay, so final thought for me. This is kind of a trick question because I hear this all the time, like you attract what you are and everything like that, which I believe can be true. I also believe that we attract a lot of things. I mean, I was in the store the other day and a guy came up and asked my number and I'm like, why would you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think a lot of times you attract a lot of things. I think that more so it goes into like, what are we choosing over and over? Like, what are we consistently choosing? And Dr. Alicia, I love what you said about, reflecting as women, if it becomes a pattern, like, why are we choosing this? Just having this conversation, a thought has come to me that maybe more successful women, maybe some may end up choosing a man who may not be as successful because maybe she doesn't believe that a more successful man would support her in her vision, that she would have to take a step back and then she won't be fulfilling her life's purpose. I think that may be part of it. And I'm speaking from, I did something that just came up for me, so a lot of subconscious things there, right? So thank y'all so much for joining. I'm Shalay Camillo with Vital Source Realty in Boston, Massachusetts, but I can help you sell or buy a home anywhere in the United States and Canada. You can follow me on IG at Shalay Camillo, and you can visit my website, vitalsourcerealty.com. And I want to just thank y'all for being here. This was a super deep and I love this conversation today. And so a woman's success should never create fear in her home or fear of how a man is going to treat her. The right man will compete with her, will not compete with her or try to dim her. He will rise with her. I love that. He will grow with her. He will win with her. Thank you so much for joining us today on Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. And we will be live all this week, and then we will be on hiatus for the holiday. But thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank you everyone to everyone in the chat. You guys have an awesome day and an awesome week, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.